Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Friday, November 20th, 2020, and today we're going to be talking about how Joe Biden can actually reach 80 million votes this election season. Now, if you don't know why this is such a significant number, you have to go back to 2016. This was the year where Donald Trump was also on the ballot against, of course, Secretary Hillary Clinton, and the final results were that Hillary Clinton received 65.8 million votes. Donald Trump received 62.9. This wasn't exactly, by any means, record-breaking. The highest turnout in terms of raw vote share was in 2008 when President Obama won then, but now it is the 2020 presidential election. Hillary Clinton is poised to have won roughly 15 million votes less than Joe Biden compared to this election. That is super significant. This is a huge milestone for America in general and also the Democratic Party. Like I said, the last time we saw this high turnout was in 2008, when roughly 58% of the voting population, meaning people who are eligible to vote, Joe Biden was also on the ballot, coincidentally. I mean, I think it's important to note that every single time the Democratic Party has won in the 21st century is when, a black lawyer and Joe Biden have been on the ballot together. I think that's a pretty interesting fun fact. But besides that, looking at the 2008 presidential election, Barack Obama absolutely demolished John McCain on the presidential level. He won 365 electoral votes. It was the most electoral votes we've ever seen for a political candidate since the 21st century began. In fact, it's comparable to Bill Clinton's performance back in 1992 when he won roughly 370 electoral votes and then 379 4 years later. But if you're looking at the popular vote, which is what's really important when we're talking about records being broken, Barack Obama received nearly 70 million votes. Nearly 70 million votes. Now, he didn't come close, really, to this 70 million number in 2012. He still received more votes than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. But when turnout was up, and it was 58%, the Democratic Party did very, very well on the popular vote. And in 2012, the population that voted, the turnout went down 3.4%. Barack Obama received 65.9 million votes. Mitt Romney received 60.9 million. In fact, Mitt Romney received one of the highest vote shares of any Republican in United States history. So Mitt Romney did very well. This is also because the U.S. population is, of course, growing. So it makes sense that these candidates, regardless if they're on the winning side or the losing side, winning records for their political party. But in 2016, we saw turnout actually go up slightly. And as a result, Hillary Clinton was on par with Obama's performance, but Donald Trump gained 2 million votes. Now, the right wing loves to point out the fact that the Democratic Party, while they did gain in the popular vote, they completely ignore that. They completely ignore what the Democratic Party did in this election and jump onto the fact that Donald Trump gained roughly 10 million votes. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. When you're gaining 10 million votes, that of course would be a big deal if you were winning the election. That's the thing. Yes, turnout was high, and I don't really think anyone expected, if there was to be very high turnout, for Donald Trump to actually lose the popular vote. Not really lose the popular vote. Everyone expected that. Lose voters in the popular vote. Of course he was going to gain. That was a given. But here we see people, flaunting this 10% number as if it really means much. And when we look at the outstanding vote, there's a lot of the vote out. There is a pretty significant portion of the vote out in Democratic states. We'll get to that in just a moment. Looking at these numbers, yes, 10 million sounds good for rhetoric, but it doesn't mean much when the other candidate gained 15 million and is defeating this candidate by roughly 5. So putting that aside, the percentages also matter. Joe Biden is expected to win by 4% nationally, but still a pretty significant number. But like you saw, there are still votes remaining. That's the whole purpose of this video. So that's sort of why the number is really important. While we do see the Trump campaign saying we gained 10 million more votes in 2016, okay, good for you. But you, number one, still lost the election, and number two, Joe Biden gained 15 million more votes than Hillary Clinton. I understand that may seem as if the base is expanding for Donald Trump, but America has always been split. Just not all of America votes. So if we were to see everyone vote in this election, we probably would see roughly similar margins to the ones we see now. It's just both sides have roughly an equal amount of people who didn't vote in this election. While it is lopsided in other elections or midterm elections, typically favoring the Republican Party, this time it seemed about equal. But Joe Biden is on track to surpass this 79.658 million number. This is 10 million more votes than Obama received in 2008 in the largest, vote share for a candidate in election history. Raw vote total now been broken by Joe Biden, 79.658. This is super significant. He's nearing 80 million votes, and the reason why is not because, there's that many outstanding votes in every state. I mean, looking at the outstanding numbers, look at the only states that are in the 70% range, Maine and New York. Look at the margins for them on the presidential level. Let's go ahead and take a look at New York. The reason why it's so close, and even though it is a double-digit margin for Biden, I say so close because of the numbers back in 2016 when Hillary Clinton received roughly 59% of the vote. But in this election, it seems closer because we only have roughly 84% of the vote in. Now, according to the Cook Political Report tracker, it says 78%. There's roughly 2 million outstanding votes. And based off how they have been splitting so far, it is an almost absolute certainty that Joe Biden is to hit 80 million votes. And the reason why I say that is not because I'm just speculating. The county data, I mean, literally everywhere across the state, first of all. I think New York really dropped the ball when it came down to absentee voting. But in some of these upper areas, Donald Trump did better. But look at the few, amounts of votes: 11,000, 36,000, 54,000. Now, 206,000 is a lot, but if you're looking at really all these other counties, they're nowhere near comparable. 19,000, coincidentally from Wyoming County, to the counties around, New York City. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of votes in counties versus tens of thousands, nearly a million ballots cast in Queens County, New York. So this isn't just population. This is just the ballot numbers, and it really gives you a general idea of how many people actually live here. And the fact that only 62% of the vote is reported in this county, going over to Suffolk County, 78%. Going up to Westchester County, 55%. Look at how many votes are outstanding. There's a reason why there's roughly 2 million votes out from New York specifically. And what does this mean for Joe Biden? It means that he is going to be gaining because these are absentee ballots, which favor Democrats more so than the in-person vote. And if these are already extremely, extremely Democratic counties, you can imagine they'd be splitting at least 70-30 in favor of Joe Biden. And all he needs to do really is just win over 50% of those ballots that are being counted, which he absolutely will. And that will land him the 80 million mark. So Joe Biden should be very optimistic about hitting that 80 million number. It's just another milestone for the Democratic Party. I mean, getting close to 80 million doesn't exactly mean 80 million. So once he actually reaches it, that will be a super, super significant. I mean, we haven't seen a candidate get above 70 million votes in the history of the United States, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did that in this election. Now, I understand it wasn't a blowout in terms of the Electoral College, and I'm not trying to make it seem like that, but I just want to point out that Joe Biden and Donald Trump both surpassed 70 million, but Joe Biden will be the first candidate in United States history to hit 80% and the first winning candidate in United States history to pass 70 million votes nationwide. So turnout was up high, which is really good for American democracy. I'm really happy about that one. It's really important that a lot of people vote, and we're probably going to see turnout levels similar to 2008, maybe slightly under, just because the population and the voting population was smaller back then, which is why you could argue, Barack Obama received less votes. He received a higher percent of the vote share, but can't ignore the milestone. You can't ignore this many people voting in this election. It was increased turnout all around. Every single state saw heightened turnout. I think that's super important to focus on. In fact, I'm going to be discussing that in the future because turnout is really crucial to both parties. And this election, it seemed to be roughly equal. So I guess final statement is that Joe Biden is likely to hit 80 million votes. He has 51% of the popular vote. Back in 2016, when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, she got 65 million votes with only 48% of the national vote. So that was a plurality. In 2020, Joe Biden won with a majority. He won over more than 1 in 2 voters in America. So that was pretty significant. I think that the Democrats are really happy with that. Before in 2016, it was a moral victory, but also the majority of the country still at some point voted against Hillary Clinton, if we're looking at it that way. This time, that cannot be the same case, given that Joe Biden is only going to expand his already deafening lead over Donald Trump in the popular vote. So roughly 5 million votes separate the two candidates. By the time this is all said and done, we could likely see an 80 to 81 million amount of votes for Joe Biden to 74 to 74.5 for Donald Trump. But this election, like no other, I think all of us can agree on that. And the turnout levels, while they skyrocketed, seem to have favored both parties. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden remains victorious. He wins the popular vote and the electoral college. He wins the popular vote by a larger margin than Hillary Clinton, both percent-wise and also popular vote-wise. Joe Biden is the first candidate in United States history to reach 80 million votes. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my post-2020 election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.